Today I'm face to face with Fabian, Siegel, founder of MarleySpoon, and we're in beautiful, I guess it's Bastia in Corsica, with the families in the background hanging around, and we're going to talk about MarleySpoon and some of the other things you did. How's that sound?
Yeah, awesome.
All right, well then let's start in the beginning. Tell me about the first few companies you started and things that you built leading up to MarleySpoon, and then we'll spend some time on some topics related to it.
So it's interesting. So the first thing I started was actually a company that was an auction house. It was the first German internet auction house in 1996 called Auktionet.
Really? I didn't know that you did that. And so around the time of the eBay IPO filing.
It was before eBay. So it was a company in the US called OnSale, onsale.com, and I discovered back then the internet was very small. You had directories, and I found this company OnSale, and I liked the idea. They were not actually doing person-to-person auctions, but they were actually using overstock. They buy overstock and auction it off. And I liked the idea, and I wanted to become a customer, and let's hope we know only for customers in the US. But okay, look, if I can't buy from OnSale, I'll do it myself. We started Auktionet, four guys that just built a website.
Really? And you were just sitting at university, or you had just finished or something?
I think back then my girlfriend, she was out of the country, so I had the apartment to myself. So therefore this was our base, and with all our inventory in our apartment. And so you go to university in the morning or in the early afternoon, and then you drive to the postal office, dropping off you have to do all the shipping yourself. And we built this company, and we made auctions. We auctioned stuff off. Like we bought overstock, and then we like hard drive, tech stuff. We even auctioned off fuel. Yeah, so we bought there was this one weird guy, we could buy fuel vouchers at a discount, and we auctioned off fuel. That's all kind of stuff we experimented with. And that's how it all started. And then after a year or so, we realized that you either have to focus on your studies, because the studies weren't going so well, and the business there's always more you can do. And then back then, they always said, Fabian, who knows about the internet, well, this thing's still around a couple of years.
They used to say that to me too.
Do something that's meaningful, finish your studies. So we sold the company for 40,000 Deutschmarks back then.
Oh, which would have been...
It cost us nothing to build. So
amazing.
And I finished my studies, which worked out well.
Oh, cool. And you guys got like 10,000 each or something, and then you used it to buy like a car.
And in 1999, when I finished my studies, I saw this company called Alando, which was started by Zamba brothers back then, which in 6 months they sold for 40 million to eBay, which became eBay. eBay Germany, which is the biggest foreign marketplace for eBay outside the US today.
Oh, really?
So I realized, damn, I watched that 2 years ago, and I missed that one. And but that was the first thing where I felt like, let's do it. I think this is, as an entrepreneur, sometimes you have this feeling, and you feel like, all right, let's do it.
So at first you were kind of fooling around. It was really interesting. It was fun, whatever. You go back to your studies, and then at 99, you see this news, and you're like, wait, I'm wasting my time. I should be doing this.
Well, so I finished my studies. Did a trip around the world, started a PhD in 2000 when I came back. And there was this guy I came across who had just started a new company. And I thought, and back then, and that was early 2000s, everybody became a millionaire.
Oh, this is that guy Norbert.
Back then, in those days, everybody became a millionaire in 6 months. That's what you do. You start in that company, like 6 months later, you're a millionaire. So I said, look, I totally missed that chance. So when this guy came across, and he said, hey, do you want to join? I said, of course.
Oh, it's perfect. He had your lottery ticket.
He had sold a company for a lot of money before. He built the largest European web hosting company. Sold that company, had this new idea of starting a new business. Back then, actually, was 3 different ideas. We didn't know yet what to do, but then you could raise money on
the 3 ideas were click and buy.
So one was payment. One was listening on the radio of something, and then you could buy the track. And the third one I can't remember. And so when we pitched investors, we said, look, we're an internet business. We don't know yet what we're going to do. But please give us 20 million Deutschmarks. And we raised 20 million on 70 million on a PowerPoint without actually knowing what we're doing.
Yeah. So the company was called Clickandbuy.
No, it was First Gate Internet.
Oh, First Gate Internet.
Because we didn't know yet what is it we would do.
Oh.
And then the product that we built was called Clickandbuy.
We have one of our background actors walking past.
Yes.
Okay, so the product you built was Clickandbuy, and this was your first big, heavy, venture-backed entrepreneurial experience.
Yes.
I think we met somewhere in that journey, maybe like 2005 or 7 or something like that. Okay, now catch us up. So at some point you leave that company. It ended up getting bought by Deutsche Telekom, and you went off to do some new things. What are the new things you did?
So I started a company together with a friend called Stratier, and this was program trading for the average investor.
Yeah, that thing is ahead of its time because we knew each other well around that time. I mean, people are building that business now, right? These crowdsourced hedge fund models.
Exactly. So the idea back then was, as today, there's so many ideas of trading strategies that you have in your head, but you really don't have time to like actually follow the market because you're busy with your job. So wouldn't it be great to have a service where you could test your ideas and run your ideas, and then they would trigger the buys and sells, and you could even probably look at other people's trading strategies and have a marketplace for trading strategies.
Right.
And there was also technology that became available. So I think it was driven by technology. It was probably one of the mistakes that we made. There is a technology called complex event processing, which is driving a lot of automated program trading. And this was proprietary technology. And in 2007, there was an open source version becoming available of that called EsperTech. And this Esper complex event processing engine was open source. So we thought, well, we can leverage this, build a consumer product on top of that. So it was a technology-driven innovation that we thought consumers want. And the mistake of the idea was that, well, nobody was interested in that. Not a big amount of customers back then.
Question of timing, right? I mean, at the moment, it feels like a super topical area. There's these business with private investors putting dollars into things like Stash or Wealthfront and different tools being used.
And they're, I think, more even advanced in our idea because they're advanced that it's even less testing than building. So we build actually a visual programming language to allow it to build and test strategies, which is way too complex for the average and very nerdy, too complex for the average investor. So in a way, we try to scratch our own itch, and we didn't see that for that specific product, there's probably no market or very small market, which in the end is the reason why we never were able to raise money for that. That's, I think, one of the things that you learn as an entrepreneur. If nobody gives you money, and this was, of course, in 2007, 2008, which was not the perfect time for a consumer-based financial services business.
Every startup of every type struggled like crazy.
Sure, but I always feel like this is a bad excuse. People didn't give the money, so we couldn't raise money for this company because we failed to see that this is a very small business. And I think other people were either knew it or they felt it, but in the end we were never able to raise the money. So after 18 months of literally sitting in a startup closet, I don't know whether you visited us back then, but it was literally, I think it was 2 square meters. It was literally a closet that they had converted into an office space, at that shared office space. And we're sitting there for 18 months now. My partner Mathieu doing all the coding, I'm doing all the fundraising, and it was a very good experience to fundraise for 18 months and also being rejected for 18 months. I think it's a very strong, very good experience that helped me later on. Yeah,
there's this term they use, which I always thought was really bogus. There's certain kinds of jobs where the recruiting, one of the criteria is we're looking for people with mental toughness. And so we look for people, not necessarily great academics or amazing accomplishments, but really maybe they worked really hard in some sports team. They were on the rugby team and they got beat up. They never won anything, but that actually is the kind of guy they want. And maybe this is what the experience teaches you of calling every day.
You always have to pick up yourself. Now you get rejected every day, and you always have to get excited about it again. And,
so you pack up after Stratier and you move to Berlin. Is that the timing? Is that right?
There was another station. It was called Kikin.
Of course. This was a really important experience too.
It was also a great experience. So I joined this company, Kikin, which what we wanted to do at Kikin, we basically wanted to build personalized navigation. So we thought when it comes to people using search or Google, most of the searches are about getting to somewhere, like getting to a website, getting to a place, not getting a question answered, but actually navigating to somewhere.
Right.
And we felt your browser knows
Which at the time it seemed crazy to me. I mean, it was the time that Google was the super, super dominant, most innovative, exciting company. Everything is all about search. And you guys want to build a browser plugin to make search even better than Google.
Yes, exactly. We thought we have an edge over Google because the browser knows more about what you're interested in, and what if we could leverage that knowledge that your browser has in a privacy consistent way to actually inject and hijack the browser window. That's why we needed the plugin. It's because we could inject personalized search results inside Google that Google did not have access to. For example, your Facebook feed. So if we find something, if you search for something and we found some relevant results within in your Facebook feed or in your Twitter feed, we could actually pull that and inject that into the Google result page, which was, in a way, a great concept. The problem was, and this was good learning for me as well, is there was, technology-wise, it was quite challenging. There's entity extraction, relevance. You have to understand the concepts of the search and concept of websites to understand what is relevant to each individual item's sentiment analysis.
So was that the problem? I mean, what's
the problem was all
Kikin?
these technologies, in a way, we were not good enough, so our results sucked. I mean, there was no value we added. And so one of the core learnings I made when being part of that team was, in the end, you always have to look at your customers and you have to look at your customer cohorts. And customer cohorts always tell the truth. If they go to zero, you don't add any value. You don't have a business. And our cohorts went to zero. And our customers installed the plugin and they all went away. Because while the concept, I think, was intriguing, we didn't deliver on it because we didn't the technologies. And so back then, I didn't understand yet the risks of running a true technology company that's trying to further what computer science can do for you. And we failed because it's very hard to understand what is the progress that your team will make on solving these difficult problems. So what I learned for myself is it's not something that I am good at. I'm not interested in technology risks. So all the companies afterwards, none of them had technology risks, and then they had execution risks.
So I often have a lens, and just now with Kikin and with Strateer, we touched both of them. My lens is there's 4 parts to a startup early in its life. There's the people, the product, the market, and then the financing. And the story on Strateer, what you were saying is because the financing was difficult, you took that as a signal that maybe the market's too small or the product match is not there. And another view is just that the financing's not there. You know, sometimes things are out of fashion and people just won't do it. On Kikin, you're saying you put the product out, cohorts go to zero, clear evidence of a free product that no one even, they uninstalled the thing, they're just not finding value.
Right.
And how do you fix it? So first is to be honest with yourself that someone doesn't like your product, but can you fix it or you just move on, choose a different problem?
I think you gotta move on. Of course, that's not what you do. You try to fix it and you work very hard on fixing it. Because you have all the responsibilities, you have investors that you have a responsibility to, you have your team that spends a lot of time and efforts and sleepless nights into fixing these things. You have all these responsibilities. So of course you don't immediately bail when it's hard. Of course not. But on the other hand, when it comes to user behavior, it's very rare to radically change user behavior. I've not really seen it.
Right. So it may not even have been a technology thing. It's just that this is not a product that people want to use.
Yes, and you could probably improve it, and you improve your cohorts by a couple of percentage points. Well, if they're at zero, that doesn't help you.
Yeah, it's the sort of fantasy of the A/B testing that you can A/B test your way out of a big problem.
I think you'll see in the very first approach whether there is hope or there's not, and that's so. Like the current company, MarleySpoon, that I started with a friend 2.5 years ago. The way we started, and it's a meal kit service where you bring people. Make it easy for them to cook weeknight dinners, you bring it home to their house. What we did initially was not a subscription business. It was actually one-off business. You could just buy a box, deliver to you with an amount of recipes. And the cohorts and the whole unit economics made it obvious after 3 months that this is not a business. I mean, you could have tried to fix it and improve the cohorts and reduce the customer acquisition costs, but structurally, fundamentally, it was broken.
Yeah, your story of the business in the beginning was, hey, it's fun to cook with each other, couples. Let's make a business that makes that easy.
Yeah, we said it was not for families, it's for couples. And the feedback we got from our couples was, great, we love the product. We'll use it for every anniversary going forward. It doesn't happen. It's not the frequency that you would want for a product like this. And so coming back to Kikin, I think when you have cohorts give you a good user behavior of your first product, gives you a good understanding whether you're in the right ballpark, you're playing the right game, and then you can improve your game. But sometimes there's just no game there. And if that's the case, then I think based on on my experience so far, I think you just have to be more ruthless of just cutting it off. We did this at MarleySpoon, for example, in the UK. We didn't see that there is a game for this. I don't even know why, but
The numbers were bad and you just shut it down.
we just shut it down. And at DeliveryHero, Russia for us didn't work out at all. If you look at user behavior across the various markets, and we looked at Russia, there was a clear outlier. And so I think you cannot A/B test your way into solving a big problem. Either your solution kind of works and you're close, maybe not profitable yet, but you're close to making it work, and then you iterate, of course, to get better. But if the product just doesn't fit, you can't make it fit.
It's funny because we do live in a time where that dominant ideology of the A/B test is ready to distract everyone from the big problem.
Right.
It's like, oh, let me set up some metrics and measures and check it every day, and it's like, you're at 2%. Just stop.
Right.
Okay, so let's move from Kikin and explore DeliveryHero, right? It's in the news a lot. The company just went public. It's worth tons of money. You're there on the first days. You're making it happen. Give me a little bit of the feeling, and then we'll spend more time on MarleySpoon.
So DeliveryHero was very interesting. It was not a traditional founder-led business. There was a person who had the idea of DeliveryHero called Lukasz Gadowski, who back then ran an incubator called Team Europe, which doesn't exist anymore. And they started, he had the idea of, let's build an online pizza service. And I knew him as he was an investor in Kikin.
It's also funny to say that that's like an idea. I mean, that idea is there since the first pizza was delivered.
Sure, but his idea basically was, look, this is a good business model and there is no good execution on that business model in Germany. Let's actually build this business here. So I knew him and he asked me, because I was relocating to Berlin, whether I wanted to be involved in that. So I joined the team and we started building the business. And what's interesting is we were doing a business that was already implemented, or that was run by an incumbent player and some other players in Germany, but they all had a complete different perspective. So from the outside, the businesses looked very alike. So this DeliveryHero, Pizza.de, same business. But they're very different in one important part, that all the other companies in the space, they were very much focused on the restaurants. So DeliveryHero is an online food ordering marketplace where there's restaurants and there's consumers, and they were all into supply.
Like in the
demand.
US, there's Grubhub and Seamless, or in the UK, I mean, DeliveryHero is there, but there's Just Eat. Yeah.
And so basically, it's a marketplace play, and all of these incumbent players were focused on the supply side, on the restaurants. Because where they came from is they used to build websites for restaurants in the mid-90s.
That's what I was doing. In 1996, when you were running your auction marketplace, I was building websites for restaurants, and I thought, oh, I'll build a giant directory of restaurants and let people order from the restaurant eventually.
So that's what
they would pay me like $1,000 a year or something like that to build the site and run it. And that's their model.
That's how they started, but that led them to be focused on the supply side. So they had tons of metrics that were all rubbish, like revenue per restaurant. They thought, I bring a new restaurant on board, I'll get more revenue. So their perspective was skewed towards the supply side, whereas the lock-in in this marketplace is not the supply side, it's the consumer, which is counterintuitive because you feel like the consumer could go to any side.
Yeah, right, they should switch anytime.
So basically what we did is, we were the first company that said, look, this is a demand-driven marketplace. So you have to understand user economics. You have to understand what is the cost per acquisition of a user. Nobody would acquire users, they would only acquire restaurants. Then you have to understand what's your user behavior, so what's your cohort behavior, lifetime value. And once you understand that, you can actually acquire users and lock them in. And the supply side, it's just...
That'll be easy. You bring them the demand.
And so we were the first ones, for example, that did telesales. All the others thought, no, you have to sell to the restaurants, you have to go there, look into their eyes, shake their hands. And we said, no, it's not true, actually. This is actually a business where supply will come if you have demand. So we just did telesales. So our business was very differently structured. While the outside looked exactly the same, we were the only ones doing telesales. We were the only ones that did customer acquisition, did customer unit economics calculations, and we scaled the model. And everybody was laughing at us because these guys burn money on TV. How stupid is that?
Right, very contrarian.
But it turns out that this is how you run the business. So I feel like when you build a business from the outside, it might look exactly like all the others, but that's not necessarily true. Sometimes from the inside, you have a completely different mindset, a different paradigm that lets you build, in the end, a better business. And today, DeliveryHero is the largest online food ordering platform in the world.
Wow.
There is no larger one.
Wow. The public market trading value is, what is it, 3 billion?
5 billion euros.
5 billion euros.
So while I only had a small initial impact on the business, what I think our impact was that we had a completely different paradigm on how to build the business. And this was different from all other players. And then we added another part which was important, is that we were not only building but also buying businesses, because it's a marketplace winner takes it all model. And we always wondered, can we get arbitrage where we buy businesses at lower multiples than we can raise cash ourselves? And as we could always raise money cheaper than we could buy businesses, we would buy these businesses. So we had the combination of building a business, being demand side focused, and having this financial arbitrage.
Well, better access to capital. I mean, if people, product, market, and financing, once you're in a business that the product market fit is driving a lot of financing opportunity, might as well use it and then expand even more your markets, is what you're saying. You're saying, let's add Spain, let's add Korea, let's add Australia.
Exactly. So some of these businesses were built from scratch. Some of them were bought. I think the team, I left the company in 2013, and the team that's been there since, I think, done a great job now.
So let's get to MarleySpoon and spend a couple minutes on it. We learned about everything. I know you were with Rocket Internet and running investments for Ali Samwer for a while. Maybe we don't touch on that too much. But at some point you felt lonely as an investor.
Yeah, so I think many entrepreneurs think that running a fund is the best job in the world, because we pitch to VCs your whole life and you feel like
act lazy, never
reply
to any emails,
never reply to people, and so great. And so when Ollie asked me whether I want to run his family, back then it was not Rocket Internet, it was Ollie's family office, and whether I wanted to be involved in investing, I thought, great, let's give it a try. I didn't like it at all. Because it was too lonely. So we did 20 deals, or I did, but back then it was one-man show. So Ollie, of course, being there, but being very busy and running his side of his business. It was a very small team, myself. And after a year, I felt like it was very lonely. So I didn't like it so much. And so what I learned about myself also was that I really love building with people. So that's what I really enjoy.
Let's make a little technical adjustment here. All right.
I really love building with people, more than exactly what it is that we do. It's that building with people is something I enjoy a lot. Now, I always say I don't have a lot of friends. I've got a family and I've got my work. And so if that's not rewarding socially, then you don't have a very rewarding life.
Cool. So, fine. Investing is boring. You wanted to build a company with people, do something that mattered. And it's back in food, and show me how it keeps building our story now, right? So now you picked something where you felt there was no product, market, technology mismatch. It was a thing that was an obvious business that was going to work, where you didn't have to invent great cohorts from scratch. Are all those things true?
I guess so I think it was similar to these other businesses I was got involved. And you stumble across an idea. You get super excited, and you feel like, let's do it. Not so much different from, I think, in 1996 when I looked at OnSale. I got super excited, amazing, let's do it. And sometimes you don't know these things happen, and it was so. This was what happened with MarleySpoon. I came across the business model. I liked it a lot. I was not the first person thinking about this. I mean, the very first person was somebody in Sweden that built a company called Lina Smartcast.
Oh, there was a food delivery recipe box in Sweden?
Yes. So
again,
there still is.
Same as wasn't that similar with the DeliveryHero story? It starts with some Swedish model, the Spotify
No,
guys
it doesn't
in Sweden?
start there, but there has been also, so there was also a company that's been doing it for a while that's now part of DeliveryHero. Probably totally unrelated, though the guy that's running Lina Smartcast also called Niklas. So,
well, here's something I want to focus on the MarleySpoon topic for a minute, because I think folks around the world are probably familiar with the recipe boxes that you get in the mail, and recently Blue Apron went public. There's several others in the US, and probably each large region has one. The interesting thing, as we were talking about this earlier, is the idea that this category is maybe larger than e-commerce. Maybe it's a whole category. It's like a fresh commerce category. It has logistics and supply chain all the way back to the farm. It has ordering dynamics and fulfillment and delivery all the way to the front. There's a whole production system in the middle where food is turned into recipe boxes and all this stuff. It is a mirror image of the dry goods flow through grocery stores. So talk to me about how far are we in the change of a massive category? How big is the category? What's wrong with the category? How will it change?
So what I like about what we do at MarleySpoon is we make it easy for people to cook. And when you think about it, cooking is a good thing. It's healthy. People eat healthier than if you eat frozen pizza or processed food. It's also good for the family if you sit together at the table. No, because if you cook for somebody, you don't sit in front of your TV. So making that easy is a good thing, but supermarkets in a way make it very hard because you want to cook a recipe, but you can't just buy a recipe. You have to buy all these ingredients that you buy in supermarkets, and you have to think about what it is we're going to cook. People end up cooking the same 2 or 3 things all the time. So I feel like supermarkets is a traditional retail concept, which is source to stock, and then people can buy from the stock. Which for groceries, of course, as many of these things are perishable, makes it very complicated because perishable don't last long as they perish. And therefore this model, source of stock, is a broken model. It doesn't really work, but there hasn't been a better model so far.
Yeah, I mean, we're together here in Corsica, which I guess everything has to come by ferry. You go to the grocery store, it's pretty bad.
Yes, and you don't even see all waste. I mean, up to 30%, depending on the category. In bakery, even up to 50% of the things that you see are thrown out. No?
Wow.
It's crazy. So what we do, and that's what I feel like this whole category, this concept of the meal kit, I think is going to be something very big. It's very early, it's very small. People underestimate the impact it will have. It will be massive. And the reason why it will be massive is it's not only that our customers cook better, in the end they cook cheaper. And the reason why they cook cheaper is that where supermarkets are very wasteful because they have the source to stock paradigm, we have zero waste in our supply chain. So where they waste 30%, this 30% is margin or cheaper price. Why? Because we're not a retailer. And I think this is the misconception people have. We are not a retailer. We are a manufacturer. We are Procter & Gamble. We are Nestle. We basically are a producer, a manufacturer that builds a brand, only that we don't have retail sitting between us and the customer. We go straight to customer. We are a weird animal. We are a manufacturer, but also we have the customer relationship and we know what these people cook. So our supply chain is actually not sourced to stock, it's sourced to order. So this paradigm shift makes our business completely different from grocery stores. And we in a way transform a commodity, which is an eggplant, a zucchini, a piece of meat. This is all unbranded commodity. We make this a branded service. We make you cook, which is what you want. You don't want to buy an eggplant. You want to cook. And grocery stores just couldn't do that because they don't have the one-to-one relationship knowing what customers will cook next week. They don't do this kind. They're a retailer. And I think this is what's very transformative about this business model.
Well, arguably, the supermarket is just a warehouse.
Yes. And it's super inefficient. So when I look at retail, I see retail dying everywhere. And I look at groceries, and I see grocery is retail is lower margin than all the other retail. And the channel switch of consumer behavior from offline to online hasn't happened yet, but it will happen also there. And it will have actually, in fact, a much bigger impact.
What do you think is the total size, the European market grocery?
So I think in Europe it's like an $800 billion
per year
European category. It's a $900 billion in the US.
So it's like almost $2 trillion in those two regions.
It's massive.
And then the total revenues of like one of the public ones, I guess Blue Apron is public, is what are they at $1 billion in revenue?
$1 billion revenue.
Out of $2 trillion.
Yes.
And your theory of the case is that it'll be whatever, 5%,
right?
10, 50%.
I don't know. So today, 98% of all sales, grocery sales, are actually offline. 2% are online.
Wow.
So the channels, and so look at fashion, 20 to 25% is online. You would argue fashion, you want to touch, why would you buy it online?
Right.
It's 25. Right. Electronics is 35. So we have 20 to 30% of each of these categories going from offline to online. Now think about one thing. Groceries are at 5% margin today. What if sales drop by 10%?
Then they're finished, yeah.
Think about Borders.
Zero.
2, 3, 5 years ago. Nobody would have thought that these guys go away.
Yeah.
And they had high margin on their books. But the channel switch made the business model obsolete. So I feel like in groceries, the channel switch has not happened yet. It will happen. And
it will accelerate when the grocery chains stop being sustainable as businesses.
Exactly.
I mean, here in near Bastia, we can pass every 2 kilometers a grocery store, and it's really just to save people a little bit of driving. Half of them will be gone.
I think so. They're not sustainable. And while we're not a grocery store, we're not a retailer, we just solve one problem. The highest margin, I would say the cherry on the icing is the cooking part, if you do it without waste, which we can do. So we just make one of these things a service, which is very, when you think about this, the internet allows us to directly connect to consumers. Just moving a model from offline to online but don't change it is not very innovative. You could argue Amazon's the only category, or the only company in the category that will own that space. But it's much more interesting to change the model. And so in a way, we're not just moving offline groceries to online groceries, we're doing something that offline groceries could never do, which is create a service, create a brand.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Out of a commodity.
It's awesome.
So when you think about this, people spend more money on food than on cars.
Wow.
So think GM,
Yeah, amazing.
Ford. These are big brands that have been built, but for food, people spend more money. You can build bigger brands theoretically over time. So we are very bullish, and we feel like this industry hasn't even started yet. The channel switch hasn't started yet. So, and that also means, by the way, that all the meal kit companies that you see, and there's not many of them. The people say there's hundreds of them. To be honest, there's only 4 or 5 at scale.
Wow.
That's it in this big category.
Wow.
And the race hasn't started yet because the channel switch hasn't happened yet.
I see. People think it's a flash.
In 2010, people thought, oh, Just Eat is the biggest, or Grubhub is.
Right.
Nobody
and you
knew.
went well past them. Yeah.
So I feel like today, who is the biggest today doesn't matter. The last
Who has the
5
model
years
that
don't
can be-
matter. The past doesn't matter. I think the future matters. And I think all of the meal kit companies are so far well positioned, and I think we'll all be able to build bigger brands. And it's not one at the expense of the other, because we're not all driving BMWs. We're not all driving Fords. No?
Yeah.
There's multiple brands out there that serve this need. And there will be multiple brands that make people cook, because not everybody wants to feed their family with Amazon. No? So I think there's an opportunity to build brands out here.
So let's return to our feeding families. Thank you for talking to me about all the different things you did.
Thank you.